Right, greetings everyone, this is Nem, your friendly neighborhood rogue, and for this summer vacation I figured I'd try my hand at doing some video game reviews of some of the games that I've been playing. So starting off, we have Immortals of Aveum, which is a game I got at the Steam summer sale for $6. And for that price, I would say that it is hardly as bad as some people make it out to be. Overall, I would give it about a 6.5 out of 10. Um, let's start with the points of the game I think are the weakest, since that's probably what's going to determine for most of you if you want to actually spend cash on this or not. Firstly, we have the script. And here I would say that the story and world building, I think, is pretty good for the most part. But the moment-to-moment interactions between the characters is just it. Best case scenario, they're obnoxious, and worst case, it's just straight up bad. The main character, Jack, talks like he is in some sort of modern action blockbuster from Hollywood, whilst some of the other characters, like the main villain, just absolutely talks like he's in a fantasy RPG. Like, it's very spread in how the script works, and the way that the characters interact with each other is just I wish there was a skip cutscene button. Let's put it like that. And unfortunately, this also bleeds over into the overarching story as well. So there will be like moments where the game clearly wants us all to think like, hell yeah, this is an epic moment. And for me, it always just fell absolutely flat due to how the characters were talking. Secondly, I would say I think the grapple hook is a problem. I guess slight spoiler, but like 2, maybe 3-ish hours into the game, you unlock a grapple hook. And I think it has some really wonky targeting, right? You will often miss the enemy that you are aiming for. And it's even worse when used for puzzles, where, I mean, it does reset your double jump when you use it, but don't think you can just go chaining maneuvers like it was like some sort of parkour game, because you for some reason lose almost all your momentum at the end of each grapple. So like it will pull you up really quick towards the grapple point and just slow you down almost to a stop again. And let's put it like this: if you were able to die from falling in this game, you don't. You just lose a little bit of health or respawn back up at solid ground. But if you were able to, the grapple hook platforming sections would be what killed me the most this game. Third, I would say the color-coded combat. I don't think it works as well as intended. I think it's a good idea on paper, and I don't mind the idea of using different colors to deal with different enemy strengths. But the fact that you have unlimited ammo means that you will inevitably find a favorite weapon that will be the one you rely on mostly. And then you just swap to the other colors contextually as needed to deal with those enemy defenses. So, for example, you would use blue for shields, red for armor, and green for the healing armor, I guess you could call it. And I think ammo might not be the perfect solution to handle this, but it would force you to more naturally swap between the tools in your toolbox. Because the way I played it, I used mostly the blue pistol weapon, using some sort of like crit build. I played with the mouse, and then getting like crits on the head zones was very easy, and it adds like a lot of bonus damage. So with some of the green enemies, I wouldn't even bother swapping. Like when he had a healing shield on, I wouldn't even bother swapping to the green weapon. I just headshot damage them through the healing anyway, and just wait it out. On that note, I also think almost all of the abilities that they give you are too weak in their initial state. You will very quickly get to a point where it's almost faster to just blast them with your weapons than use those abilities you're granted. I will also say that the skill tree does seem to incentivize like a jack of all trades builds, because you will be lacking if you don't upgrade certain magical colors. since you need to swap for specific enemy defenses. Well, need is a strong word. You don't need to swap, but it's very highly incentivized to swap. And then if you put all your points into one of your weapons, like for example blue or green, that will make red feel very lacking when you need to swap to it. But there are also a lot of talents in the talent tree that require you to spec into the other talent trees. So I would say it very highly incentivizes you to play a jack of all trades rather than like a specialized mage. Fourth, the semi-open world of the game. This game is essentially just a bunch of proper levels stitched together with loading screens, but it still wants to play at being a sort of semi-open world game, in that it very much encourages you to backtrack through levels you've already been to, especially when you unlock new tools that you can use to unlock like more stuff. Unfortunately, I think it doesn't really add all that much to the game, because like you can find new treasures and new gear, but oftentimes you will find nothing more than gold and some like crafting materials. And a lot of the items you will find, you quite a lot of the time already have better items than that on you. So it doesn't feel all that rewarding, and quite a few of the activities are really just busy work. Like they have this little thing where they will be flying red, green, and blue dots out in the world that you need to hit with the color type, of course, to get like minuscule amounts of resources. And I don't think it adds anything really. And same with a lot of chests, they don't really add anything. And I think personally, I would have enjoyed it if excuse me, I would have enjoyed this a lot more if this was just a linear game. They could still have a level select if you wanted to go back and replay levels, but I think the semi-open world of it doesn't add anything. Number 5, the shield. You've already seen me use it in the video a few times, and I think this is a minor inconvenience, not specifically with the shield, but it adds up, which is that the shield adds quite a bit of visual clutter to the screen. And this is very much a already visually cluttered game, where like whatever you do, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening on the screen. And sometimes, like when shooting, keeping the shield up, like I couldn't even see what the fuck I was supposed to aim at. It's you can say skill issue if you want, but I think that the game has too much visual clutter, and I think that the shield is one of the big villains in this, because you are incentivized to keep your shield up quite often. Like you will be slowed down when holding shield up, so you do want to drop it every now and then when you want to move. But since some of the enemies have what I can best describe as fucking hit scan weapons, like you have a blink ability, but it is, apart from people melee charging you, it feels almost pointless to use the blink. So you will shield it, and that means you are going to spend a lot of this game's combat staring through the shield visuals. I will also say that it doesn't help that you need to edit the config files to get more than 90 degrees field of view. The footage you're currently watching from me playing is with 90 degrees field of view, and it can feel quite a bit cramped, especially on a widescreen. 6th point of the things I think are not necessarily super good in this game, the upgrade system. And that's because all upgrades are very incremental, so it hardly feels worth ever upgrading anything until you start getting to legendary gear, which have 4 upgrade slots, and there it actually makes a difference, because you can increase damage pretty radically on, for example, weapons. But until that point, it doesn't really feel like you need to upgrade anything unless there's like a specific weapon that you really like and want to have some more damage on, or same for armor and rings. But I generally just plopped on whatever I found and then upgraded some of it as I went along. And I don't think that system is bad, like it's perfectly functional, but given that the upgrades are so small, I don't really think it adds anything of value, and I didn't ever really feel like I needed to like save up or grind for any specific upgrade as well. It more felt like they could have just plopped these out more consistently throughout the like regular levels, and they could have just skipped the upgrade system altogether. Now, on to some of the things I think are good with this game. Firstly, I think the graphics are really good. Like, this is one of the earlier UE5 games, but at least for me, it ran perfectly fine. I didn't have any major problems with stuttering and such. It also ran at a pretty good frame rate at about 100 FPS, utilizing DLSS in quality mode. And I think like you can look at the current footage. These are the more standard areas, but there are a lot of visually very impressive and distinct areas. And I think like the graphics team overall did a fantastic job in making the game visually interesting. It is a bit cluttered sometimes, but like I love the general look of it. I love the design of it. I think I mentioned earlier that I think the actual story, well, the actual story isn't that bad. It's just a generic, sci-fi story. So I don't think the character interactions are any good, but I think the actual world building, like the way the world is presented and works, is very interesting. And I think the graphics add to that. Like you'll be walking in, and it's like, oh shit, there's a spaceship up in the sky, like magic spaceship. And I think all of that is, I think that's pretty good. Secondly, the voice acting and music, like while the script is absolute utter toss, the voice acting is consistently good. They do the best with what they're given, and they do a pretty good job at that. But you don't really appreciate it that much since the script will just keep going and annoy the living hell out of you. I also think the music is pretty good. Like there's no real bops in it that just has you like sitting there digging along. But there's also like no bad music. Like all the combat music is good, all the exploration music is all good. And thirdly, the combat. While I think there is a problem with the grappling hook and the ammo system, I think the general flow of combat is very enjoyable. I think all of the weapons feel pretty good to use, and there is a wide enough variety with the weapons that anyone can easily find a favorite. As I said, I mostly ran blue, which is essentially pistols, snipers, and sort of scout rifles. You have the red mana, which works as your shotguns, and you have the green mana, which is sort of SMG, assault rifle, minigun, depending on which one you equip. So there should be something for everyone among the weapons. And some of them, like, will with the talent changes make you slightly change your playstyle as well. But I think the general combat works pretty well. I think most of the enemy types are interesting. There's also quite a lot of different enemy types that you will be facing. I think the blue mages are probably the worst enemy in the game just because some of the abilities are so badly signposted how you should deal with them that it can feel like a bit of trial and error. I don't think the small additions you have, like you have a grappling hook, you have a stun, and you have a slow, I don't think either of those in their base version is really good enough to bother using mostly. Like you can slow or stun an enemy, but it's almost always better to just keep blasting. I like that you can double jump. I like that sprint actually feels really fast. It feels like it's easy to move around a lot. So yeah, I think the combat overall pretty good. I didn't only play story, but I mostly played through the story. I did some side content, like some side bosses and such. I think if you're going for the completionist route, I don't think the combat's going to be good enough to carry you through the entire game, because you will have essentially every combat tool after like halfway through the game. And after that, just you can still upgrade your tools and such, but you won't be getting any new ones, so combat won't be developing at all from that point onward. But for me, who just went through the story, I think it's absolutely fine, and I think it will carry it all the way through. And to conclude my thoughts, I think that if they had released this as a AA game for 30 to 40 euros, it would have had a much better reputation. Like for the 60 euros they asked for at launch, I simply can't recommend it to anyone. As I said, I got it at a 90% discount for €6, and at that point, I would say it's well worth the price. It's surprisingly stable for me. I only had one crash. So all in all, I would give it 6.5 out of 10. And I would say get it at a sale if you are interested in shooting and if you find like the fantasy genre interesting as well, because we do get surprisingly few fantasy shooters. Yeah. This has been Nem. Have yourself a good summer.